Good afternoon. My name is Dave Burge. I'm from Anderson County, and I run Justimere Farm. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the farm, some history and goals, and then I'm going to talk about rotational grazing, the early setup that I did, and where I've gotten to, some other grazing trials and improvements that I've done, personal experiences and some mistakes, and then I'm going to tell you how rotational grazing is going to help me meet my farm goals. So from a history standpoint, I'm a registered Angus breeder, been breeding seed stock since 2001. I market my bulls at Purdue and University of Tennessee bull tests, sell females and bulls off the farm. I had an off-the-farm job until 2014. I had done some rotational grazing prior to that, but really got more dedicated to rotational grazing around 2014. And the mission of my farm, in a nutshell, is to raise cattle that are in the top, this is registered Angus cattle, in the top quartile of the production and carcass EPDs, and maintain the calving needs and maternal traits that my Angus customers have come to expect. I want to do all this while raising and maintaining cows on Central Kentucky forage, and I expect them to do well on just that. And I've got a very simple objective. I want to make a decent living raising cattle and hay. My entire farm, which is 106 acres, is dedicated to rotational grazing except for a 5-acre bull lot. I'm striving to maximize my grazing days, and all the hay is made by me on farms close to mine and brought in, and I do that for quality purposes. So this is my friend and county agent, Tommy Yankee, and at this point, this is 2014, where I was moving from, I was doing about 4 big paddocks, and I really wasn't religious about rotational grazing. Tommy helped me string up a bunch of temporary hot wire, and that was the start. So when I started, I had portable water tanks and above ground waters with quick disconnects. I had portable mineral feeders and fewer paddocks relative to today. I got in trouble my first year. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. I also raised sheep at another location. I had some temporary electric netting. I hope you can see that from a distance. I needed a quick alleyway, so that's what I used for an alleyway to get my cows from the rotational grazing area to a working facility. And then again, this happens to be a current picture where I had some high tensile wire fence, but all the gates, all the interior fences when I started rotationally grazing were just a single poly wire. So then, over the last 3 years, I've progressed to 15 paddocks of 5 to 8 acres each, plus the creek. The creek is fenced 30 feet off of each bank, and it also acts as a paddock in a sense. It gets grazed 1 or 2 days a month. I've got 8 big tire water tanks and 4-wire high tensile fence in critical areas, and I've got 16-foot steel gates in critical and convenient places. I like the gates just because they make it easy for me. So this is roughly a layout of the farm. It's a big rectangle. These paddocks are not to scale, so I just, but this is how I've got them numbered. And these, the W's in a circle, those are the big tire water tanks. You can tell that like paddock 1 and 2 have a water between them. When I started out rotationally grazing, I kind of ran a water line close to this creek because it was simple, but one of the presentations today you heard about manure distribution, and that's why these tanks are situated at these locations. It helps with that manure distribution. The rectangle here with the word work in it, that's my working facility. Obviously this is the bull lot. These yellow bars are the creek crossings. What I do is I start in 1 and I just watch the grass, and I'm moving them this way down to 6. I come across this creek crossing, I've got a gate here, I hit 7, then I go 8, 9, 10, back to 15 and start all over again. Couple permanent additions. I stole this off of a friend of mine, Mike Wilson, and it just works. I've got a barrel with this is roughly 14 inches across. I've got a hole cut in it. If you do this, make sure you use a backer board and through bolts, and I've not had good luck going to trees, so I put them all on fence posts, and it seems to work. Another thing I've done over here, here's the steel gates. That's one of the permanent additions. The 4-wire high tensile all along the creek. But then I'll plug Sandusky steel down in Columbia. They don't have it all the time, but periodically they get this. They get these 2-inch square steel tubes, and it's only about $2 a piece more than wood. I think Sandusky kind of specializes in seconds, so I like using those. Here's the big tire water tanks. As you can see, with a heavy use pad around it, it's got filter fabric underneath and about 8 inches of gravel. I've got 2 different designs on the tanks themselves. On one, I bring the concrete up to the top bead and then make a small V right here and fill it with silicone. In the other, I overflow the concrete into the sidewall. I much prefer the second method because I have had some small leaks develop with this method. This PVC pipe you see right here serves as 2 things. It's an overflow, and then I didn't take a very good picture of it. Down here at the bottom, there's a tube that goes over with a valve on it, and I can drain the tank if I need to. I'm using Job valves in all of them, and I love these things. This is the high tensile fence again, and this, in this case, this paddock right here is one where I happen to winter the cows. So the 4-wire high tensile with 2 electric keeps them confined well. I don't have to worry about 1 hot wire and somebody deciding they want that grass over on the other side. And this is why I do it. It's very easy. I open a gate, and it's surprising how quick they pick up on that. When I go out there, the cows look at me, and if I go open a gate, they're going to go through it. So right here you can tell, in this case, there's cows right down here. I was grazing the creek at this time. I opened that gate and ran them here into this paddock. So that's the rotational grazing. What else am I doing? I'm doing some warm season grasses to protect from the summer slump. I've done some weed control and fescue seed head suppression using chaparral, and I'm doing some tracking on organic matter and nutrients. From a warm season grasses standpoint, this is a field of Indian grass. There was some switchgrass in here. The switchgrass kind of played out, but the Indian grass has done very well for me. I made hay off of that this year, and I'm at about 3.25 tons per acre, and it's a real nice, clean field. Cows like the Indian grass and seem to do well on it during the winter. I've got a 5-acre paddock of eastern Gamagrass, and this year I did a trial of Sudan grass, experimented with the hay, and grazed the Sudan grass 3 times. This is the Sudan grass field, and this was at about, I'm going to say 3 weeks into, or 3 weeks after planting. And right here, this is where I did my trial. I went around the outside and I made some hay, baled it up, and then I turned the cows into the Sudan grass, and they loved it. All 3 times they've been on it, they tear it up. They really like it, so doing well. This is the paddock. I've only got 5 acres of eastern Gamagrass, but this is the paddock that I've got that in. This is when that grass was about 3 years old. You can see, look down here, you can see some spaces, and then the big clump. Eastern Gamagrass is a clump grass. It makes really nice hay, and the cows like the hay, and I like the yield, but it will beat you to death driving across, mowing it, and then raking it and baling it. It makes a very rough field, so I gave up on that. I only graze it now. So this is a picture of a paddock that I took in late summer of 2015, and the following spring we came in and we sprayed it with chaparral, with Dr. Flynn's help. And that's the way it looks now. Now, there was a reduced rate. When you do the seed head suppression, you use kind of a reduced rate. So it wasn't perfectly clean, but we got the buck brush and we got the multiflora rose, and I had, as you could have seen, I had a real ironweed problem, and I greatly reduced that. So the seed head suppression only works 1 year, and this is the second year. So this was 2017. Dr. Lemcooler has helped me out a lot on nutrition and some of my rotational grazing. That's him on the left there. You know, one thing that got talked about today is the sacrificing legumes, but it's exactly, I think Dr. Tosh talked about the guy in Georgia at 5%. That was me. I had about a 10% clover stand, and Dr. Lemcooler said, Dave, you don't have near what you think you got. This is no sacrifice at all. So we went ahead and sprayed that, and then I'm coming back in winter, you know, February seeding with red clover to get it reestablished. As far as nutrient and organic matter monitoring, with the fall of 16 soil samples, I started asking for organic matter percentage, and we're tracking that. We're tracking the P and K level distribution within the paddocks. And what I expect to see is, with doing rotational grazing and bringing all my hay in, I expect to see my organic matter come up. And the whole goal of that is, down here, is the additional water retention and lower fertilizer costs. So as I move on, I'm gonna show you. You got cows here on this side of the fence, and you got cows here on this side of the fence. And what that was about is, I had two groups of cows that was 2014 when I first went from continuous grazing basically to 8 paddocks. I had one cleanup bull, and he did not care where the cows were. He wanted to be with all of them, and he was repeatedly tearing up the single poly wire. So don't do that. The other thing is grazing too short. And I think all of us tend, when we go from continuous and we go to rotational in any real capacity, you look at the grass and you say, yeah, but there's a lot of good grazing left there. And what you'll learn is what we heard today all day long was leave some blade. It's all photosynthesis driven, and that's the ticket. So believe that, and it's not a waste. I hear people saying, yeah, it's a waste, but move them anyhow. Well, it's not even a waste. Just do it. So the other I kind of went over already. It was the no alley to the working facility. I'm lucky right now. My cows, like I said, when I go out, my cows follow me if any gate I open. But my creek, the way I've got it with 30 feet on either side, really ended up being a nice alley. And with the 4 openings that I showed you, 4 crossings, I can take them out just about anywhere. I can get them in my working facility and do what I have to do. That first year I told you about the pink eye outbreak, and that's... Now this one right here, too many tasks to get the cows moved. I used to have to move a water, move a mineral feeder. I even thought, you know, I saw the experts on YouTube or whatever string an electric fence every day. I don't buy any of that, and there might be a reason to do it, and it's a good way to get started, but anything you can do to make it permanent, it takes me no time. I could even be like, have a conference to go to today and move cows in the morning. All I got to do is open a gate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 31. Shut the gate and I'm done. So stay away from a lot of tasks to move the cows. I tried to grow Gamagrass between the corn rows, and I had such a good corn crop that it shaded out the Gamagrass. So that was a mistake. And this one's kind of funny. I went to a field day over at Buddy Smith's house. Dr. Higgins was there. He said, make sure you calibrate your drill anytime you use it. The one mistake I made was I had my wife with me at that field day. So, and I say that for a reason. So the very next day I went to seed Sudan grass. And wouldn't you know it, it's like 2 o'clock. I was already having trouble with the drill, and I knew it was going to rain by 5. and there's a setting on the drill said Sudan grass. And I said, I don't have time. So I put it on the Sudan grass setting. I did about a quarter of the field. I looked at my seed. It was almost all gone. Cut the setting way back, went to the house all mad. My wife, the first words out of her mouth were, "What did Dr. Higgins say last night?" So that's a true story. So real quickly, during the spring flush, I move every 3 days. June to September this year, I averaged 157 head days per paddock. And so what that is, for example, is 30 head, 5 days would be 150 head days. So I asked myself, with 30 days of rest per paddock, what's my carrying capacity? And if you just do the math, you don't look at grass utilization and dry matter and all that, I said, gee, I could get up to about 60 head. But we had really good weather this year, you know, and I've lived through a couple droughts and I'm scared to death of them. So I'm saying right now I want to go from 30 to 45 cows, spreading the fixed cost over more cows is going to raise my net income. I enjoy working on all the methods of weed control that we saw today. I enjoy studying soil health and maximizing grazing days, and I don't have to worry when the rain stops. That's it. And also, I like Johnson grass. Any questions?
Any questions for Dave?
Yes, sir.
When you get your water replaced, ideal.
I really like it. They're uniformly spaced, and like it was 600 feet from the creek to the northern boundary, I think. And the northern boundary didn't get grazed like I wanted it. They tended to stay down closer to the water. So when I repositioned the waters, it helped a lot. The whole pasture gets grazed. I think I've got a lot better grass utilization now. I am understocked, so I am making hay off of some of those paddocks. 800, yeah. Yeah. Yep, it's working for, well, I'm probably less than that now. From the tank to the boundaries, I'm probably more like 300. Is there another one? No? Yes, sir.
On your water system, do you have a pressurized system in that, or you using
I do.
another system coming off the pond or there?
No, I've talked to Don Sarah a little bit about doing a gravity-fed system, but it's city water, and it's about so 30 cows is my highest bill this year was 135, right in the heat of the summer, and it's it's been up from 90 something or 80, 80 something. Well, remember I said I'm understocked, so I'm getting, I'm making hay on some of them. I'm still up around 40, 45 days. So I really need more cattle, and that's where I'm headed. There was something else, yeah. Oh. Water line. I had 4,500 feet of pipe. I think I had $2,000 in the pipe, and a couple $100 in a riding ditch witch, and some incidentals. That's not counting Job valves, and there's $600 worth of Job valves on there. So I really haven't figured it that way. Job, J-O-B-E. Yeah, Megaflow. The water line? Oh, the valves. I used, I had some leftover 1 inch, and then I used 3/4 inch on the rest of them. The flow, the tires are holding 300 to 400 gallons, so the flow really isn't critical with 45 cows.
What would you say that cost for just the water?
S&S Giant Tire in Nicholasville is still giving away tires. Eight bags of Saccrete if you fill the sidewall with some rocks before you pour it in there. 8 bags of Sacrete, so $50 for concrete and $50 for the valve. Tires free. Now you do have your heavy use pad. Sheep would be a lot cheaper. I did. 14 teeth per inch blade, and a tractor with a front end loader is critical. I had to, so I drilled a hole, and as soon as I got started, I got a chain with a front end loader, and if it starts shaking you to death, you got to do something with the tractor. Just pick up higher or move the chain. Yeah, I cut them all. You know what? This is going to be my first winter with the tires. I made a mistake on my bull lot. My tire is not as deep as I wish it was. So that's the only one I'm worried about. My plan is on the other tires is just to fill, the Joe valve is well below. I've never seen ice like that in Kentucky. So my plan is to fill all the tanks and leave them. During the summer, I turn them off as I go away from them, so I don't have to think about them. The bull lot's the only one I'm worried about because my Joe valve's probably only that far below the surface, and I'm going to have to keep an eye on it. Did you have a question? No? I thought somebody right here did. Okay. Thank you.